Hello everyone, my name is Elio Villafranca and I am a pianist and composer from Cuba. I was trained in Cuba as a classical musician even before I knew jazz. So the first piece that I will probably cite or mention that influenced my life, my artistic life, I would say The Rite of Spring by Stravinsky, which is actually one of the pieces that, for me, the piece that revolutionized music of the 20th century. The other piece that I will probably, or album that I would probably mention would be the Three Quartet by Chick Corea. Now, at the time when I was in Cuba, I didn't know anything about jazz. When I got to Havana, I got introduced to jazz, and then the Three Quartet by Chick Corea was one of the first albums that I heard, and the album that really completely messed my head. Like, I could not understand what Chick Corea was doing at the time. And also, actually, another album that influenced me around that time was The Eye of the Hurricane by Herbie Hancock. Those two artists would really change my life, and that would make me pursue jazz further on in my life and fall in love with it. One thing is that before I even knew music, I was a painter, and that my first instrument was not the piano or even the percussion, but it was the guitar. I studied guitar for many years before I even knew how to play percussion or play piano. I don't know, is that qualified? And the other thing is that I don't know, that I don't eat butter and I love tea. I don't know, that's maybe the one thing that I normally don't talk about in my interviews or any other way. So when I'm creating music, I go through different ways in my creative process. Sometimes that could come in a form of an image, sometimes that could come in a form of reading a book, or just simply sitting at the piano and writing some music. I want to cite two examples of this. For example, one of my latest albums, Cinque, which is inspired in the story of Joseph Cinque's revolt over the ship La Amistad. I fell in love with that story, and then I started researching a lot of similar stories in the Caribbean around the same time, and I used those stories as an inspiration to write the music. If you don't know what the story of Joseph Cinque was or is, he was an African man that was born in Sierra Leone, and then he was captured illegally and was brought to Cuba and sold as slave, and then that's when he revolted over the ship La Amistad. Then currently I'm working on another project, another big piece of music. This one is entitled Don't Change My Name. Now, in Don't Change My Name, I started, what inspired me to work in this particular project was a book that I found by accident at my house, and the book is called Florentina, the Dahomenian Queen, or Princess. And I started reading about this book, and then I learned about Florentina Zulueta, who was an African woman who was brought to Cuba when she was 15 years of age, and then she was sold as a slave as well as Cinque. And then but she became like a very strong leader in the Arara community in Cuba, in Matanzas. And then I've been reading about her. I've been really researching the music of that community, the cultural tradition of that community, and I used that material as an inspiration to write the suite. And other pieces that I've written come in the form of an image. That was the case of a Flower by a Dry River. That piece was dedicated to children who were in condition of slavery and in condition of traffic, child traffic conditions, and things like that. So I use that image of a flower striving or surviving at the bank of a really dry river as a symbol of resilience of these young children that besides all the mistreated life and exploitation that they receive, they still, a lot of them get to strive and then become, grow as an adult, and many of them become leaders in their community. How do I use composition, or how do I use texture in composition? Like as I mentioned before, the first things I ever did was painting, and everything around painting has the same language that music has. It has the language of texture, the colors, the form, saturation or no saturation. I mean, all of those things you can apply in composition and writing. And since that was my very first education on art, it's always in me. It's always in me. When I write a piece of music, I always think in terms of colors, like choosing the instruments or choosing instrumentations to write the music. What combination can I create to create a certain type of color or texture, and of course forms. We as a jazz musician, we always in touch with form, whether it's a blues form or whether it's a 12 bar blues or 16 bar piece of music. Or, every time musicians are always thinking about the question, the form, which is like AABA, which is one of the most traditional forms in music, or it's like ABC, all those different forms of music. So in painting is also that there is also the concept of form. So I translate all of my early knowledge on art, which was through painting, into music, and I use orchestration as a way to create that environment of colors and textures and sounds and which I think is just basically enriches the music when in my case at least, when I think it that way rather than to thinking just in pure music. Yeah, that's my my approach to texture and colors and things like that. And as a composer, all I want is just to write some meaningful music and offer some real meaningful experience through music to people. And that's what I invested all my life. So I don't really bank on many profits I don't profit on fame and success and things like that. I really want just my art to be meaningful and to change people's life, in a positive way, of course, by listening to them, and that's that's what I want. Again, I don't know if I have felt that I made it, because I think as an artist I constantly striving to better things all the time. So it's that reaching that goal of that creative, goal of creating music, and it's a constant evolution. I constantly keep raising up my bar. So I don't know if I ever gonna feel like I made it, because every time I achieve something, I move my bar higher so I can continue striving. But one of the things that I feel really proud about my career is I have several moments of those. One is becoming a teacher at the Juilliard School, and also becoming a teacher at Manhattan School of Music and Temple University, and having the opportunity to record with people who I admire all my life. The opportunity to record and become friends with Chick Corea, and record with Wynton Marsalis, and record with Pat Martino in Philadelphia, and with John Fares. Those are heroes of mine, and I think when I had that opportunity to play with them, I guess it could feel like I made it. But once again, I play with them and I get to that, and then I'm constantly thinking, okay, how can I continue to go and grow as an artist? And I never really look back to say I made it, because I feel like the sky is my ceiling. So I continue pushing myself forward to become a better artist. Some of my proudest moments in my career, I have to mention, I just recently received the Guggenheim Fellowship. I have 2 Grammy nominations for 2 different projects of mine. And as I mentioned before, I think becoming a faculty member in such a prestigious institution like Juilliard and Manhattan School and Temple University is one of the things that I hold dear and I feel really proud of.